There's nothing more boring to me than talking about the weather. But I've got to first start by talking about the weather. Only because we had some weather last night. And then I'm going to tell you about a crisis. First, the weather. Um, my compliments to Carrie, Wesley, and Johnson with WLOX local news. The meteorologist. Did an excellent job, guys. You did. You did an excellent job delivering, forecasting, predicting. Didn't mean you got it right, necessarily. It just simply means you did an excellent job. That's what you do. There's no exact science to meteorology. It is basically taking a series of phenomenon, evidence, weather evidence, putting it together and drawing some kind of hypothesis or conclusion. Did a good job. Now, with that said, I really resent those individuals, mostly oxyconservative talk radio, who want to criticize meteorologists in total. It started back on the eastern seaboard when there was some predictions of a hurricane hitting and it didn't hit or whatever. By the way, did I mention that where I'm sitting now, Gulfport dodged the bullet? We did. Inconvenient to some. Some are just really PO'd because, oh yeah, they just hyped it too much, and so here we are. I'll get to that in a minute. That's all born out of oxyconservative talk radio bull crap. But first I want to get credit for where it's done, and that is first and foremost to the powers that be. Mother Earth, God, Allah, whoever. Because we did dodge a bullet here, where I'm sitting now. Now, not all of South Mississippi dodged that bullet. I mean, Jackson County, just approximately, 13 miles, 14 miles down I-10, did not fare as well. I mean, we didn't get a drop of rain here overnight. It didn't have not one bit of lightning on that huge tower sitting just approximately 30 feet from my left shoulder. That was good. I mean, I was prepared. I had the generator ready. Everything was all geared up. I was supposed to have poured concrete that morning. Opted not to pour concrete on a building that I was building, and with the anticipation of having storms and rain. Therefore, 3-4 people didn't work there. The ready mix didn't deliver the concrete, so maybe 7 or 8 people didn't work. Thank goodness the city sent out an inspector early. He came in, got through with everything, with anticipation of pouring concrete. I do a lot of things here, folks. Didn't happen. Was I disappointed? No. No. Based upon the information I had, thanks to Wesley, Carey, and Johnson, I made the decision not to pour concrete because I felt that it'd be some rain. Not without checking with my dear friend Jerry. By the way, if you're looking for a good cement finisher, he's a good one. He's a great one. And between him and Chris over at Ready Mix, we said, well, you know what? It's a better possibility that it is that we will get rain. Better possibility. So consequently, and you don't want to have that when you've got 30 yards of concrete on the ground. You just don't want that, you know what I mean? Because it's going to take a while for it to set up. And I mean, it could be a real mess on your hand. And of course, the client wouldn't like that, and I wouldn't like it either. I think Jerry put it this way: it's better to spend 1 day to get it right than 2 days to fix it. See, that's the kind of stuff you get from builders. They just see, you see things so commonsensically. That whole idea of measure twice, cut once, that just works. You know what I mean? And so when Jerry said, rip, man, look, it's better to spend 1 day doing it right than 2 days trying to fix it. That just, So thanks to them, I didn't bore. Didn't have a drop of rain, beautiful day. It's okay with me. I had even postponed for today. Said I'll wait until Thursday. Better to be safe than sorry. Penny saved, penny earned, all of that. I'm not blaming the meteorologists, ladies and gentlemen. You know, but this whole thing of wanting to blame the weatherman and, oh, they hype it too much, and all of that is born out of oxy-conservatives in their quest to try to somehow or another demoralize people who they think will begin to believe it's about global warming. We want to, look, oxy-conservatism does this. They want to make sure that you know that they have all the answers. The earth is flat. It is flat. It will always be flat. Don't you venture out there and start thinking that earth is not flat. That is a conservative concept, folks. Going back long before you had the Republican Party. That is a conservative concept. That is, scared, basically. But oxy-conservatives, though, is looking at something else. The oxy-conservative talk radio, the Russian Limbovs of the world, what their whole view is trying to disunite people. They don't want to see the idea of folks, for lack of a better way of putting it, getting congruency, coagulating around one thought, especially if it's not their thought. The idea that things are changing, and it could be the climate, and that man could have an effect on that, could adversely affect them, their buds, their supporters, big business, those folks who are big polluters, one could argue. By the way, not all big business is big polluters. Make that clear. But that's what this is about. This whole idea of criticizing. Oh, they hype it up just so you can go out and do stuff. When all America wants to do is go to work, and here you have all these meteorologists coming along, and they're trying to just give some examples of climate change. And ladies and gentlemen, climate's changing. And yes, I believe we have an adverse effect on climate. I always have, ladies and gentlemen. I have good reason. When you start seeing blackberries and those green pears and mulberries, and artesian wells, all of that is affected by something. Of course, in some cases, it's just a matter of the well running dry. In other cases, it's a matter of the water being diverted, i.e., what happened, the diversion there for water's heading out of Lake Pontchartrain. But anyway, I don't want to get you too confused. I want to deal with the fact that you're going to hear from folks, and I even heard meteorologists saying, "Oh, we get a lot of criticism." Who the hell would criticize? Remember, what was it? Reader used to be there, and I used to say, Reader predicted it was going to be rain. It wasn't rain. Well, was I disappointed it wasn't rain? Hell no. I'm glad you got it wrong. It's okay. I mean, one thing to say it in jest, laugh, and go, "Yeah, boy, you got that wrong." Another thing to be all PO'd. "Oh, yeah, I am so sick and tired of these meteorologists. Boy, I just went down here and bought all these groceries and bought all this plywood, and guess what? I didn't even get a win." So what would you rather? What is the converse of that? You'd rather have wind? You'd rather have rising water just so that, it's just dumb.
Oh, it's tiki torches and pitchforks that they underestimate.
It's just dumb. You guys got to get past this oxy-conservative concept of evaluating everything politically. That's what these guys do. Everything has to be a political designation. It's Republican or it's Democrat or liberal or it's conservative. That's what these guys do. They've always done it throughout the history of mankind. Always done it. My cave is bigger than yours. Why you got to build a fire outside, man? Just build a fire right here. It should be just like this. Heaven forbid you go out and build a fire like a swoosh. I mean, it's just, folks, I'm just going to tell you. When you hear a guy say, "Well, I'm conservative," what he's telling you is he is not objective. What he's telling you is that being middle of the road or being moderate in something is not what he does. What he does is mine, all mine. He sits there like the president. It's mine, all mine.
Are your arms crossed?
Yep, yeah, my arms crossed. I'm on the toilet. I mean, it's just kind of, you've got to see through this. Boy, Johnson, Wesley, Carey, they're having to leave LOX now with armed guards, hiding their faces, ducking.
So fast. They did a good job.
And Wesley wears such bright ties.
He sure does.
And loud shirts.
Dapper cat.
Carrie's gorgeous. Got them babies and she's still going. And Johnson is just Johnson. I just like saying the name Johnson. He just did something to the Johnsons. He really did, didn't he?
Well, I think
what I'm saying is,
French line of Johnson's.
It's
don't claim that folks over here.
Well, he just given new meaning for Johnson. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, it's just, you know.
I love watching the news with people who've had a few in them, and he comes on TV. It's great.
It's good. Oh, boy.
Ian Johnson.
It's Johnson. Johnson. So, fear not, meteorologists all over the United States, don't let these oxyconservatives run you into the ground and somehow or another blame you, because guess what? They had a beautiful day. It's stupid. How stupid can this be? It was gorgeous out here, and they told me it was going to be raining. Damn them. Damn them. Shame. Shame. It's like going to the doctor and having brain surgery. And the doctor's looking for a tumor, cuts it open, finds out you didn't have a tumor. What do you say?
It's not there.
Damn, you went through all of this? I mean, America, come on, you're smarter than these oxyconservative talk show hosts who are just simply trying to rally either your anger or your fear. They're trying to sow the seeds of doubt and division for the sake of market share and to build their little base, right? And to get their guys in and to protect their big guys who are supporting them. You got to get past that. Look, folks, thank you for it, Lord. Thank you. Gorgeous day. You got it wrong, Wesley, Carrie. Well, you didn't get it wrong. You predicted, and guess what? You had no control over that, did you? And for my friends there in George and Jackson County, I really am sad about the fact that you got it. I really am. I would have hoped that maybe some other place, let's see, out of our listenership area. What area is that? Are we in
Pensacola.
We're in Pensacola. It would have to be further down, maybe around the other side of Apalachicola.
Apalachicola.
Yeah, I would have rather that it had gone to Apalachicola. Not unless I've gotten a P. If you call me from Appalachia, then I will beg your pardon. But Jackson County, Pascagoula, right there at the state line, they did in fact get some winds and high waters and so forth. You guys want to get the phone over there? Thank you. I'm sorry. Looking at some technical difficulty, obviously. All right, folks. So that's the first thing I want to say. So I got it off my chest. I feel better about myself. Before I tell you about the crashes, I got to go here. The Kavanaugh grilling is going on. It's a foregone conclusion that more than likely he will be selected as the next justice. I have not had an opportunity to look at any of his paperwork. Neither has most of the congressmen. I think that's kind of appalling. The only thing that gives me suspicion about Kavanaugh is two things. Number one, the person who appointed him, who chose him, nominated him, should I say. Because he's nominated, he has to be approved by the Senate. Nominated by the president. I just don't have a lot of faith in the president's ability, his character. I'm just going to say that, folks. And you know that already. However, the only doubts I have is sown by him. The fact that he chose him, and now the fact that this president would actually place under executive control, privilege, 42,000 documents. I mean, why? I would just like if I were Kavanaugh, and I would hope he would. I don't know if he could, but for me, if you're proud of your record, it's all out in the open, really. And I will only hope that once, if maybe Cory Booker or some of the other committee members would ask, well, let me ask you, would you like for the president to release the 42,000 documents that he has on you?
For them to ask Kavanaugh that himself.
Yeah, just ask Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
And I would only hope. He would tell me if he said, yeah, I really think the president should. I had no idea he would do that. I have everything everything I've done, all the documents on me. I don't have anything to hide.
That would get your support for him.
There's no doubt about that.
Let's just stand up.
And it's not that I don't support him now. It's just, I
you don't support who nominated.
I have suspicions of Donald Trump. I do. He wants loyalty. This guy is This guy is, he's a pariah. I'm just going to tell you that, folks. He's a dishonorable Donald, and he will be that from now until the day he dies in my book, as far as I'm concerned. So they're going through the grilling. There's been some protest out there. Not unusual either, by the way. When I testified before Congress back during the BP scandal, it's not unusual. I don't know whether you have paid protesters there or not, but there's always protesters in and around. I don't know, the Rayburn building. I don't know which building. They're in the Senate. That's the other building there. The one they're looking to change and probably won't, in the name of John McCain. Can't think of the other guy's name. He's a staunch segregationist. But it's not unusual. You hear that, and you hear some ruckus going on, and it's kind of timed out by some of them, to basically shout out and try to, say, and it's not that I don't think they're genuine. I think they are. They're just exercising their free speech. And the Grassley, the chairman, to his credit, said, well, look, they've got to, they exercise their free speech, and he'll allow them to do it, and then the cops will come and escort them out. It's civil disobedience is what it is. They're not arrested, typically, unless they really put on a stir. And then there's Bob Woodward's book, Fear Something Something. Bob Woodward did also a book on President Barack Obama, which, of course, actually conservatives just love, said some disheartening things about President Barack Obama. Well, he's got some of the same things coming out about Donald John, and Donald John is all PO'd about it. Unless you say things that you like him, then he's just not happy. He's not happy with you. I like Bob Woodward. I think that he's a very credible author, journalist. I don't read his books. I didn't read the book about Obama. I didn't read the book about whatever, maybe Bush or whoever else. I just, outside of his contributions to the Nixon fiasco, Watergate, I've not read much. I just really haven't. That's not one of the authors that I follow. But I do feel that obviously he is he's credible in the way of journalism. In other words, he still believes in getting three sources. I would hope. This is the guy who talks to Deep Throat. You got me. And so, he knows something about the ins and outs of working inside the Beltway there. Do I think all of what he wrote is accurate? Probably. Do I think some of what he wrote is accurate but exaggerated? Probably. Selling books, of course. Is this considered a reference book, or is it considered as a nonfiction book? Well, that's in between, actually. It depends on who you ask. He was invited after being asked. He admitted that he did not talk to the president, but then there's this speech where he did, in fact, call the president. And Tales from the Crypt lady was there, walked in. And, that was rather interesting, but hearing the president saying that he thinks that Bob Woodward is fair. Well, if you think he's fair and he just wrote a book, then be prepared for what he's writing here, what's coming out. And it basically suggested that the White House is in chaos. It's a fiasco, and that there are some individuals, professionals, like Kelly and others, who has referred to the president as not being, should I say, professional? In some cases an idiot, in other cases 5th, 6th grade. Do I think that General Mattis would say that? Yes. Do I think that Kelly would say it about Donald John? Yes. Because some of you have said it. Even some of you who support him know that his behavior has not been presidential. It hasn't even been adult-like in many cases. Some of the little mansy-pansy things he just say about other people and other things. You just, calling a woman a dog.
Dog.
Who does that? It's just, it's just beneath intelligent people. You got me? Or mature people.
Or grown-ups.
No, grown-ups. It just is. Well, and I don't put anything past them. Huckabee came out and defended the president. We've got a little bit of that. Let me just tell you, and Huckabee should be well paid.
Very well paid.
She should be well paid because she can do it. She has such a very good straight face. Doesn't she? Spicer, you can kind of see through him.
Her face is kind of crooked.
She does a good job holding up.
I think she
takes
I
off
think she has a believable stare, and I think that I think she should. What do you think she's getting paid?
It depends on which person she's staring at.
She's paid to lie.
Well, there's no doubt about that.
Hopefully at least $500,000 a year.
But she does it so convincingly. So she was on being asked about the book and about what was book fear and some of the salacious things that were said in it, and some accurate, maybe exaggerated, but in many cases believable. Here's how she just some excerpts here about how she responded.
Look, he may have hundreds of hours of tapes, but I think most of those probably come from some disgruntled former employees. It's a lot of anonymous sources. What I can tell you is I've worked alongside the president, under the president, for the last 3 years. I was part of his campaign. I've been part of the administration since day one. And I can tell you that the president, everything so far that I've seen out of this book doesn't depict what's going on in the building behind me.
Disgruntled employees. It's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I bet he broke some records. You know, usually Ronald Reagan used to have the record for employees being fired, or at least his kitchen.
Yeah. The cap. Yeah. But he
His
likes
kitchen cabinet.
He likes to be, the best at everything. Nobody knows disgruntled employees like me, folks. Trust me. Every
Well.
time I have an employee, they get disgruntled. It's a fact.
Yeah. The squeaky wheel gets replaced, huh?
Yeah.
Well, so she didn't deny anything. She just blamed, you blame the messengers, I guess. And that's not exactly, she may not should be paid as much for that. I mean, she's trying to pass it off as being disgruntled employees, but the question is who hired those disgruntled employees?
Exactly. And how they get disgruntled.
Just saying. All right, 2 more Russians now have been charged in the poisoning over in London. They actually have names and faces. How about that? All right, so now, there you have it. I've got to get to this because it's near and dear to me, folks. You know that in my book, family is everything. That's what built this radio station. That's what built the radio network. Family. My father was one of the fathers who was selected, volunteered, or just happened to just be the father who would always take all the boys home after football practice. In some cases, ladies and gentlemen, he would take his 46 Chevy, and we'd be 8 strong. I'm talking junior high school boys. 8 strong, smelly boys piled up in his 46 Chevy. And you could do that because the 46 Chevy, you see, was kind of long. You know, that back seat was almost like a lazy boy recliner. You had a floorboard in between the seat that had a little small hump on it, and so we had it all figured out. You sit in the back of a 46 Chevy like you're in a stadium. You got the upper seat. They had the, kind of stacked on each other. And no one had to sit in anybody's lap because, little boys, getting on the football field. Once you get to be 13, 14 years old, you're not going to sit in nobody's lap. You know what I mean? But you have some kind of adjustments. The bigger boys will sit there. The boys that have the longer legs would sit on the chairs, and the boys that had the shorter legs would sit down on the hump. Of course, I always sit in the front seat. It was my daddy. And it wasn't a buggy seat. And I never sit in the middle either. I just say. So every day that old man would come after working all day pouring concrete. There he is, concrete dust in his hair. His yellow hard hat sitting in the back window of the 46 Chevy. Still, not even having a chance to wash his face. Looked like he still was wearing the glasses he was wearing when he was working concrete. So therefore, although the glasses weren't there, he had this ring around his eyes. Tongue hanging out of his boots. But he did not miss a football game for his little bouncing pride and joy, me. And he didn't mix a practice either because, ladies and gentlemen, it was the early part of integration, and he knew, or he felt, that he needed to be there. Wasn't a whole lot of us, meaning African Americans, on the team. And it wasn't exactly like we were in the middle of African American neighborhoods, just get my drift. And so a father's going to do, and I don't think it's just that, but I think that that also fueled a certain urgency for him to, instead of going home to see his lovely wife, he would beeline from Keesler Air Force Base or Ingalls or NASA, where he did concrete work at all those places, to East Junior High. If he couldn't do anything else, if he couldn't get there in time for practice, and usually he didn't, he was there by the time I walked out of the locker room. There's that 46 Chevy. I used to be embarrassed by that. That's another story. But not only was he there in that 46 Chevy for me, but for every other boy. He would sit there, and the few of us, 8, 9, 10 of us, would pile out of that gym. And my dad would always ask, "You got to ride home?" "You got to ride home. You got to ride home." Many, if not most, did not have a ride home. So two things were going to happen. Either they were going to walk home, or they were going to have to hitch a ride some kind of way. Coach Lewis, somebody, hopefully. And it always baffled me as to how that would happen and why a parent would do that, allow their child to go off like that and not have a way home, or for that matter, to not support them. So my dad would pile us all up, and he'd take all of us back home, drop us off. And I'm not criticizing. Sometimes he'd drive up, and there'd be 2 cars in the driveway. You know? Didn't say anything. He'd just drop them off. I don't know if any of the parents ever called and thanked my old man for doing that, but my old man felt an obligation to do that. Because after all, he lives here, and he knew the parents. Well, not all of them, but at the very least, he knew of them. He knew the kids, and wanted to make sure he didn't leave anybody behind. Which brings me to the crisis. There are African-American boys being left behind. And it's about time we admit that. There are African-American boys being left behind deliberately, I think. And it's unfortunate, but they're being left behind by those of us who are African-American men. We're just choosing not to do it. Now, I know someone's going to call me and they're going to say, "Well, no, Rip, I do it. You do it, I know." But I'm talking in general, each of us should do it. And it's not unreasonable to have that expectation. There's no doubt that even in those days, ladies and gentlemen, some African-American men, or moms, or parents in total, did not see it the way my dad saw it. They weren't there waiting for their child to get out of football practice, even in those infamous times. But regardless of whether they did or did not, we still have to do it. It still has to be done. It still needs to be done. It still does. Regardless. I mean, all the idea about, well, you know, the parents don't do this and the parents don't do that. Those of us who know better got to do better. If not, the crisis will continue. And it is a crisis. I was talking to a coach the other day, and the coach was saying that it's very, very sad in the school that he was in that some of the best players don't even go out for football because, you know, football is not the sport of choice. The sport of choice is thuggery. Really. In other words, the sport of choice in his school, in high school, is that, yeah, well, you've got being cool, getting a tattoo, even though the child is not supposed to get a tattoo, but getting a tattoo and at least acting like you are dope boy is far more important than playing basketball or football, especially if you're not a superstar or if you don't think you're a superstar. The idea of practicing is just not as well. That, with me, combined with the fact, when you look at the statistics, folks, this preacher got a lot of hay during Aretha Franklin's eulogy, which, by the way, I thought was out of place for the eulogy, but doesn't necessarily mean that what he said was not exactly accurate. I think you have that. We'll play it after our next break. But I think you cannot ignore. I can't ignore the fact that we've got young African American males who just don't know jack crap. And they're not expected to know. What do I mean by that? I mean, they don't know how to put gas in a lawnmower or check the oil in their car. And they have a car. What I'm saying is, I mean, which end of the shovel to use? It's some very basic things that's not being taught or learned. And then the lack of expectation. There are those of you who will rush in and give an excuse. Rip's going to get some criticism in a few minutes, I guarantee you. Oh, there you go, talking about our children. And what I'm talking about, what I'm critiquing is our young males who must know. You and I both know that the days for young African American males, it being given a pass for not knowing, is gone. Shouldn't have came about in the first place. Some probably pseudo-liberal teacher, principal made some excuse as to why it embarrasses them to get up and read because they had a hard time reading. In other words, rather than teaching, you simply become the expert and not want to embarrass them. If you don't know, you don't know. But I think it's a crisis mode here because there is a need right now, ladies and gentlemen, a need for construction workers. And there aren't any. And more. Hang on. I've got more. I'll be back.
The Breakfast Club. If you missed the show, this is what you missed. Hey, Z,